Cynthia Donovan is a registered dietitian nutritionist with over 15 years of experience, specializing in helping women recover from hypothalamic amenorrhea, or HA. Drawing from personal and professional insights, Cynthia founded the Recipe for a Period in 2020, guiding hundreds of women towards reclaiming their periods, restoring fertility, and achieving true health. Her holistic approach empowers women to balance fitness, nutrition, and well-being. Outside of her work, Cynthia enjoys exploring nature, traveling, rock climbing, and making memories with her two energetic boys. Please join me in welcoming Cynthia Donovan to the NFP Podcast.
Welcome to the NFP Podcast, where we explore the empowering world of natural family planning. I'm Amy Smith. Join me and my co-host Emily Appledorn each week. Together, we're here to dive deep into the science, the stories, and the spirituality behind NFP. Every week, we push back against the free love culture and advocate for a culture of responsible love, where intentionality and respect are at the forefront of family planning. Join us as we discuss everything from the practicalities of charting and fertility awareness to the profound impact NFP can have on relationships and communities. Whether you're new to NFP or a seasoned pro, our podcast is your go-to resource for honest conversations, expert insights, and real-life experiences. So grab a friend, settle in, and get ready to be inspired. This is the NFP Podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to the NFP Podcast. It's just me today. Emily is busy with her little ones this morning, but I'm really excited to have on with me Cynthia Donovan. She is going to be talking to us. She's a registered dietitian, and she's going to bring her expertise to us to share about a condition that I have experience with, and I know she does as well, called hypothalamic amenorrhea. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, but how it can lead and present, it often can be discovered in our attempts to try to achieve pregnancy, and we're not having any luck. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Thanks for being with me today, Cynthia.
Yes, thank you for having me, Amy. I'm excited to be here. One of my favorite things to do is to get on podcasts or speak at certain places because hypothalamic amenorrhea, and just to call it HA for short, is something that is not, I don't want to say not talked about, but it's not known. And there's so many misconceptions around it. There's so many misinformations from medical professionals. And yeah, it could be really frustrating and lead women down paths they don't necessarily need to go down. So yeah, I'm very excited to chat about this.
Me too. And I don't know if it's been your experience on the patient end, but I know it's been my experience as well, is encountering very well-meaning medical professionals who maybe, even with my diagnosis of having HA, and sharing that to say, okay, well then what ovulation stimulating drug do you want to get you ovulating? Because the issue is you're not ovulating. So let's make you ovulate. And, any type, and I think just kind of addressing it at that level to say like, okay, let's just get your body to ovulate. It's like, but with drugs, almost to imply like, well, with HA, your body can't ovulate anymore. And in reality, I think we know is like, well, no, HA doesn't mean your body can't ovulate. It means it's not ovulating. And it can if we address the underlying cause. So similar to with a lot of reproductive diseases and disorders and conditions that we've talked about on this podcast, the birth control pill is often treated like it's a Band-Aid approach. It can really address a lot of reproductive disease and symptoms and things that are really uncomfortable for women with period issues, but it doesn't get at a root cause. Just like ovulation stimulating drugs don't get at the root cause of HA. Would you say that's right?
101,000,000%.
Okay.
Right. And yeah. And unfortunately, yes, I want to say these well-meaning medical professionals, are just using what they know best. And I guess that's medicine, right? Versus like treating the root cause. And for so long, I can tell you, yes, this is something I personally experienced. And every time, I don't know how many doctors I went to, I'm like, can you just tell me why my period's missing and how to get it back? Like, just tell me why, please. Just anybody out there. And it was either come see me when you want to get pregnant so we can get you ovulating, here, try the pill. It could kickstart things, which is like not, it's farther from the truth. I don't know where that comes from or like where people learn that. I don't know. It's mind blowing. But anyway, the pill, progesterone, ovulation, like what meds, like, okay, we're going to skip right past Clomid. We're not even going to do that, which I guess is, first of all, I just want to say if you've gotten the diagnosis of HA, like that's friggin' awesome. I don't want to say it's awesome to have it, but it's awesome that you got that diagnosis because I would say 80% of the women I work with, their doctors are kind of like, oh, well, here you go. Here's the pill. Like they don't even they can't figure it out or whatever it is. And unfortunately, there is a lot of research out there on other medical conditions, but not on HA. So I can't remember the exact numbers. I have that. Maybe I can find it while we're chatting. But the amount of original publications on PCOS, because that's one of the misdiagnoses, is that a lot of women will be misdiagnosed with PCOS and it's really HA. I think there's, I don't know, thousands, and there's not even 1,000 of research articles on HA.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So anyway, so I don't want to we can talk more about the whole misdiagnosis of PCOS because that's a common thing. But in
Yeah.
essence, like you said, Amy, like there is a root cause why you're not ovulating. Your body just doesn't decide to be like, oh, I'm just not going to have her ovulate. Like,
Right. Right.
and
There's a reason.
never going to be able to ovulate again. No, we just need proper nourishment for the body, proper
Mm-hmm.
rest for the body, proper
Right.
maybe mindset techniques, slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
And we live in a world today that is very image oriented and fitness and quote unquote health oriented. And my mind was blown when I finally found a doctor that diagnosed me with HA. And he's like, you need to exercise less and you need to eat more. And I'm like, wait, hold the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what life is all about. Like, you're supposed to be healthy. You're supposed to exercise every day. You're supposed to eat lots of vegetables and fruits and watch what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and plus I'm a dietitian. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, like, no, this doesn't make sense. So
Mm-hmm.
my mind is very blown where, and I'm sure so many other women and they get caught between these two worlds of like, wait a minute, like, okay, like, yeah, I got to eat more and rest more to maybe ovulate and to get my period back, get pregnant. But that goes against everything I know is a form of health.
Mm-hmm.
And what I can tell you quite simply is that, when the body doesn't get enough nourishment of energy, of calories, and your stress hormones are constantly through the roof, like cortisol and adrenaline, your hypothalamus is going to be like, oh, heck no. Like it is unsafe. It is unsafe. It's a protective mechanism from the body, regardless of what we think is health. So, and unfortunately, not all women are affected by this for, I guess, genetic reasons. They haven't really studied it yet. But if you're one of those women out there with HA, your body is feeling unsafe. And in order to ovulate again, nourishment, decreasing those stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline by maybe mindset work, breath work, calming the nervous system, and unfortunately, exercise increases cortisol, intense exercise. So that's also, even though you love it, it feels good. I was there. I'm like, no, this is like, this can't possibly be bad for me right now. And yeah, the too intense, too frequent, too intensive exercise can be bad for you at this particular time. Now, flash forward, I'm like 15 years post HA. Yeah, I'm exercising intensely again. I'm doing all the things, but I nourish my body a lot better. I calm my nervous system a lot better. So, and it's not my only form of stress relief anymore. And I think that's a big thing too, Amy. It's like, well, wait a minute. I can't exercise as much. Like that's how I relieve my stress. Well, it can be a form of stress relief, but it cannot be the only form. And if you're trying to get pregnant and, you don't have a period, you're not ovulating, it is not the healthiest thing for you right now.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start before we move too deep into HA and how it presents and how we can address it in a, kind of holistic manner. Let's start kind of at the beginning. How did you learn that ovulation was a sign of health? and that having a period should kind of be a non-event, as my favorite Dr. Laura Briden likes to say,
Yeah.
in that like it shouldn't be painful. It should kind of come and go quietly. It shouldn't be a big deal if it's healthy and everything's working well. Did you start out younger, kind of knowing about your body? You know, you knew about cervical fluid, you
Mm.
knew you were supposed to ovulate it, on average 28-day cycle. Or was that just kind of not something I mean, and no fault. Most women don't know that right when they're younger. So I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, I'd like to kind of get a painted picture of like how aware of your body, especially your menstrual cycle, were you growing up and then into your adulthood and into marriage when you were trying to
Yeah.
achieve a pregnancy? Kind of when did that come into your radar of like, oh, this is how this is how my body works, and it's really important that it works. Ovulation is like a sign of health.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Amy, I knew nothing as, a young teen. Absolutely not a thing. I knew when I got to a certain age, I was going to get my period. That's all I knew. And then when I got my period, it was a little bit later. I want to say it was around probably like 14, which is kind of late-ish, but I was an active little girl and doctors assured like, "Oh, you're active." And I just want to side note really quick that if you are a young girl or you have, young girls as children, uh if they're not having a regular period or have gotten their at least one period, I would say like the cutoff would be like 15 at the very latest. Like something's up. And if the doctor's like, oh, well, she's active, this is normal. No, a lack of a menstrual cycle is never normal. I mean, unless maybe you're like seven, or young or super like later in life. So anyway, at that time, I got my period a little bit later and they were painful and they would come sporadically. And so I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Oh, here's the pill." And, I didn't know anything. My mom didn't know anything. So, okay, on the pill I went for 10 plus years. And it wasn't until Amy, I got pregnant, or I got pregnant. I wanted to get pregnant when I got married. So I'm like, well, eventually I want to have babies. And I had this like deep, like feeling like, I don't think it's going to be that easy. I just had this intuition. Like, it was really weird that I wasn't like fertile. And of course, I was on the pill, so you have no idea what's going on with your body for the most part. And so I come off the pill, no period. I'm like, huh, okay. Went to the doctor. Oh, it's fine. It's normal. Post pill amenorrhea. You've been on it for so long. No, I'm going to do another side note here. After you come off the pill, you should get a cycle within a month ish, if that. Like, so the post pill amenorrhea to me is a crock of you know what. So I took that because I trusted my doctor. And so then no period for months. And then I went back, oh, here, just go back on the pill, kickstart it. And, if you want to get pregnant, come see us when you're ready. Okay. So I,
Sorry to interrupt you. During that time,
no.
were you doing any like kind of research on your own? Like, okay, I'm coming off the pill. Because oftentimes when you're in like wanting to achieve a pregnancy mode, you're kind of like looking into all the things. So from the time of getting off the period, getting off the pill and waiting for your first period, were you already kind of trying to, talk to people, talk to friends, look around, or were you just kind of sitting and waiting?
So it was a total of a 5-year journey for me, Amy. So in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I want kids, not like right this second, but I know I want them like within the next couple years. So I'm like,
Okay.
let me be proactive.
Okay.
Right. And so I'm like, okay, well, doctors know what they're talking about. Like I grew up, I would say my family, like upbringing was like, well, if the doctor says so, like,
Right.
it's,
Right.
it's that, like they're doctors.
Right.
So, and so 3 years went by. I got a misdiagnosis of PCOS. And then after I got that misdiagnosis with PCOS and I did what I thought I was supposed to do for PCOS, my HA got worse, which I didn't know. And then I was like, okay, like what's going on here? Like I'm sick of looking for answers. Like nobody's telling me what's going on. So that's when I started to research a little bit. And then finally, I don't know, maybe my third OBGYN was like, why don't you go see this reproductive endocrinologist about an hour away? I'm like, why didn't you tell me this like a year ago? But anyway, so I went out, and that's when he was like, oh, you have hypothalamic amenorrhea. And I'm like, what? no, 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 no. That doesn't make sense. I learned about it in school as a dietitian. Nope, I don't fit the bill. So I had a very bumping heads with the term
Mm.
of HA because what I learned, Amy was like, you have to have an eating disorder, which I didn't have. You have to be an athlete, which I wasn't, but I was training like an athlete. And you had to be a low BMI. And my BMI was like regular slash overweight, if anything.
Mm.
So I'm like, no, don't fit any of those bills. Nope, sorry, doc.
Mm.
And so then that's when the research really started going, Amy, where I'm like, no, like this can't be. And it was
Mm.
more, if I look back and I'm like, it was more of me like not wanting to come to terms with what I had to do for the
Mhm.
diagnosis.
Mhm.
So I did my research. And at the time, there was, I don't know if have you heard the book No Period Now What?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Mhm.
Yeah. So at the time, there was no book, No Period Now What. So this is going like 10 years ago ish. And so I found a forum. I can't remember what it was on. And then I ended up finding this Facebook group and probably like 30 women that were all complaining of the same thing. And I'm like,
Oh no.
okay, well, maybe this is a thing. And so then I started doing a research. I connected with the author, Dr. Nicola Sykes, former known as Rinaldi. And again, there was no book yet. And so this was a 5-year journey. I would say probably at the end, the past 2 years of that journey, I started to research and delve into a lot of things. And so I met her and I was approaching 30 and I was
Mhm.
like, I don't even know if this is going to work, this like
Mhm.
eating more and resting more thing. Because there was just, I mean, this was 10 years ago. There's really not a lot of research now. There was nothing back then.
Mhm.
And nothing that it felt safe enough for me to make those lifestyle changes. So I decided to embark on fertility treatment. The doctor never told me like, yeah, Cynthia, like you just rest more, you eat more and your period's going to come back. He was like, "No, you need to rest more and eat more. But let's also skip right to ovulation induction." So, and at the time I was almost 30 and it was 5 years, Amy. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, so let's do this fertility thing.
Right. Right.
So,
So all the
so
kitchen
yeah.
sink at it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
So you're kind of learning about HA, exploring Dr. Sykes' work, kind of in that Facebook group. And then at the same time, you're working with this doctor who gave you the diagnosis of HA and is still recommending a fertility treatment to help you achieve. So you
Yes,
go that
pregnancy.
route. Okay. So
Mhm.
at that, I guess during that time, were you starting to also understand like your cycle? Like, oh, this
Mm,
is like ovulation is important, or this is kind of how all this works. I
yes.
need cervical mucus and all of those
Yep.
things, like kind of the biomarkers of your cycle.
That's when I started to be like, oh, well, like this was what was in my underwear all that time when I was little. Like,
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, and there's so much meaning to it, the different kinds and types and
Right.
yeah, and just it
Right.
really helped me connect more deeply to my body
Right.
as a woman. So
Right.
yeah, that's when I'm like, oh my God, like you can't just get pregnant at like any time. Like there
Mhm.
has to be a certain time of the month that you can get pregnant and that, oh my gosh, your period has so much more to do than just fertility,
Mm,
you
mhm,
know?
mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a big like, and one of the many reasons why I went into the field of work I did is like, so many women don't know this,
Right.
about their
Yeah.
cycles. Not
Right.
to mention the whole HA thing, but
Right. Right. Okay, so let's kind of wrap up, I guess, with your experience trying to conceive. So you then are with the doctor, the OB, you're kind of playing with a little bit of the HA recovery attempt, but you're doing the reproductive health treatments. So what did you end up doing and were you able to conceive?
so it was, I can't remember the exact name of the drugs, but it was daily injectables into my belly. If you named a couple
Menopur?
fertile, I think it was Menopur.
Okay.
And then I also did a little, there was an oral pill, is supposed to help with the ovulation, and it's not
I
coming to
don't
my
remember.
mind.
Letrozole or Clomid?
Letrozole, yes.
Okay.
Letrozole. So it was a combination of that
Okay.
and then the HCG trigger shot. So yeah, it wasn't until round 3 of that treatment did I conceive.
Now,
And
had you
so,
been making slight lifestyle changes as you
yes.
were doing those? Okay. So you'd started to rest a little bit more and eat a little bit
Hmm.
more. Okay. All
Yes.
right.
But
And
I
then you were able to
also was,
conceive. Oh,
yes, yes. But I was also, Amy, still caught in between those two worlds of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to gain all this weight.
right.
Like, is this even like, do I even need to do this?
Right.
So
Right.
that was hard. And I want to say I attribute the success of the third round because the second round, because I was making these lifestyle changes, my guess, my ovaries were hyperstimulated. So OHSS, ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome or something, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
called.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was out of work for like 2 weeks because they were afraid
Mm,
that these cysts were going to like, or my follicles grew too big.
right.
And my guess is that the combination of drugs and my hypothalamus was turning back on. So like I didn't need that level
High
of,
dose. Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Makes a lot
So
of
yeah,
sense.
that was round two. And then round three, I feel like I attribute it to finally being like, I'm done. Like I'm not obsessing over my body anymore. I'm not worrying about if I'm going to get pregnant. Like I'm just going to live my life and try to live my life alongside doing this really hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
And because I mean, fertility treatment's no friggin' joke. Like you got to go to
Mm-hmm.
so many appointments, shots, lab work, ultrasounds. And my doctor was an hour away. So I had to travel, miss work and fall behind in work. So I'm like, you know what? And you typically gain weight a lot of times when you're doing fertility treatment. So I'm
Right.
like, if this doesn't work for me this third round, I'm taking a break
Yeah.
until I get myself in check. And so it worked on the third round, and I went on to have a beautiful, amazing pregnancy of my little boy who is 9 years
Aw.
old.
That's so cool.
So
That's great. And so after that pregnancy and birth, did you, what happened? Like, did you kind of
so
start
I
having
was
cycles after
like,
you were done nursing? What did that look like?
So I was very like, oh my God, am I gonna get, because they say, whoever they is, that after you have your pregnancy, your body kind of does like a reset, right? And then you'll get your period back, no problem. And I agree and I disagree with that. For me, I agreed because I was still upkeeping those lifestyle changes of not exercising too much, fueling my body appropriately. And I did breastfeed and I produced a heck ton of milk. And so I'm like, eating like I have never eaten before. And it was about 12 months postpartum. I got my period. I saw signs of, cervical fluid and mucus like much, probably months before that.
Mhm.
And so I did get my cycle back and I was so excited because I was like, should I stop breastfeeding to see if it's going to come back? Like, what should I
Mhm.
do? And I'm like, no, I loved breastfeeding, at least after the first like 6 months.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I don't want to give up this special time with my baby. So 12 months, I was still nursing, got my period back. 3 months later, I conceived
Oh my gosh,
naturally.
Cynthia. Wow, that's amazing.
So,
Wow,
and
that's
it
amazing.
was kind of, we wanted another baby, of
Mm.
course, but I didn't know it could happen that easily.
That's right. Yeah.
But that is what happens when you are taking care of your body the way your
Right.
body needs, not the way you think you should take
Right.
care of your body.
Right. Right. Wow,
So,
that's powerful, Cynthia. That's so powerful. And then since then, you've gone on to have healthy, regular ovulating cycles, right?
yeah, yep. Same
Yeah.
thing with him. I nursed him till like 15 months, 12 months, got my period back. And I'm like, well, I was kind of like, I'm good with two. So
Right.
I was very, very careful because
Right.
I didn't know after struggling for so long, I didn't know it could be that easy. So
Right.
yeah, I have not had a regular period since or a missing period since. I
Mhm.
exercise on a regular basis. I nourish my body. So yeah, now it's an afterthought.
That's
Um,
amazing. Wow, that's
yeah.
amazing. Okay, so let's dive, I guess, into HA specifically. So we say HA stands for hypothalamic amenorrhea. Let's kind of give our listeners an overview of like what does that mean? So physiologically, let's say what's happening in the body, because it presents as an ovulatory. So your body's not ovulating. You're probably going a long period of time without having any type of a bleed. And this is without being on a birth control pill. So just HA, just letting the body go, you're probably not seeing much. You're not seeing cervical fluid. You're not having regular menstrual bleeds. And that's because ovulation is suppressed. So I don't want to steal it from you, Cynthia. So why don't you explain a little bit?
Yes.
We've talked about it before on the show, how the cycle works, and that for the female menstrual cycle to work, it starts actually in the brain. So why don't you explain a little bit about what
Yes.
is HA?
Yeah. So, and pretty much this way, like your body is in survival mode. And your one of your non-essential functions is your reproductive health. Like your body doesn't want to create a baby if like the environment around is unsafe. So hypothalamic amenorrhea is a condition characterized by the absence of menstrual cycles and of course ovulation. And so it's a part of the brain, the hypothalamus, and there's this hypothalamus pituitary axis that is pretty much like I just want to say like shut down. Like it's kind of like, okay, like there is not enough energy to run this bodily function. So FSH, LH, which are produced in the hypothalamus, estrogen, progesterone, like all those main female hormones are kind of like I don't want to say they're low because unfortunately, when you go to the doctor and you get lab work, so many times the doctor will be like, oh, your labs are normal. Your labs are normal. And it's like, okay, well, why is my period missing if my labs are normal? So pretty much, I like to say with hypothalamic amenorrhea, you're kind of like stuck in your follicular phase. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't have
Yep.
enough FSH and LH to get that follicle to grow enough to get to that ovulatory stage. So that's why like your labs might appear normal, but they're really not because they're reading that based on the follicular phase of your cycle. So
There's,
anyways,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just going to say,
oh
I think
no.
there's a term, I think it's called ovarian quiescence, and it's called like a quiet ovary, where basically the ovary is, it's, it's like paused because
Mm,
it's not getting the signal from the brain.
yeah.
The hypothalamus is not sending that signal from the hypothalamus to the pituitary all the way down to the ovary. And so the ovary is just kind of like it's paused waiting for instructions. It
Yes.
like it can't do anything
Yes.
without the brain telling it what to do.
Yep. Yep. Pause would be another great word, shut down, dormant,
Right.
or I've heard the word sleepy before. Your ovary is
Right.
sleepy. So
Right, right.
yeah,
But
like
not broken and not empty. Like
no.
it's just it's
This is
waiting for the
so
brain.
reversible. Yes,
Right.
it's waiting for the brain, and the brain's doing a smart thing by saying,
Right.
like, no, like I'm not going to produce these sex hormones. First of all, it's unsafe around here to reproduce, and second of all, your friggin' heart needs to beat.
Right.
Your lungs need to breathe. These
Right.
bodily, so your body in essence is taking the energy and putting it to your survival needs.
Right.
And so, and even if you think, for me, I was just like, no, like how I'm doing all the healthiest things for my body. But that's what I thought, not what my body was telling me. So, yeah, in essence, the hypothalamus it plays such a crucial role in regulating your cycle
Mhm.
and releasing those hormones that are needed to get down to the ovaries. And so, when your body is thrown off by not eating enough, not resting enough, or even stress, and I want to just side note here, stress alone is not going to cause HA. It
Yeah,
has to
maybe we
be,
should spend just a second on that because I think
yeah.
it is important to clearly define when we say by stress. And like stress is not, I mean, you and I both are moms and like you're just in a busy season. And I feel like I'm always, am I stressed? I live stress. Like I just have
Mhm.
always things going on, people we're managing. And so that life stress does not shut down the hypothalamus. The
No.
hypothalamus can handle that type of thing. But when the hypothalamus is then stressed beyond that by not being resting and fueling, well, now you're giving away, you're depleting its energy source to keep functioning. Is that sound
Yes.
right, Cynthia? So like there's
Yes. I
daily
would.
stress that doesn't shut down the
Yeah.
hypothalamus. The lack of like life sustaining nourishment and way of life, like that's what's going to shut down the hypothalamus.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the thing is, too, it's like that daily stress a lot of times is going to impact your nourishment, your exercise. So the typical type A woman, the overachiever, successful woman is a lot of times working out. And that was my stress relief. I would work out in the morning and then I'd be like, oh, I had a stressful day at work. I'm going to go work out again. And, that's just causing more stress to the body. But here we are thinking we're doing a good thing. So I like to use the term, Amy, you only know what you know when you know it. Now, after listening to this podcast, you know better. So now we have to make some changes. But
Right.
Yes, in essence, alone, like if your doctor's like, oh, you just need to like de-stress, like go take a vacation or something.
Right.
I mean, yeah, take a vacation for sure. Who doesn't like a good vacation? But, it is more than just that day-to-day stress. Even if you have a stressful job, there's
Mhm.
something going on in the energy availability that is causing your hypothalamus to say, like, we're going to kind of lie dormant or, pause for now.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And this HA is typically seen in women that are exercising a lot and not eating enough. It's not always
Mhm.
the case. I've had a few clients here and there that were like, I don't even exercise that much.
Mhm.
So it's not always that.
But I think that also speaks to what you mentioned earlier, though, Cynthia, which is like enough is relative. Like exercising too much is
Yes.
kind of relative to the person. And
Yeah.
I know it's been my experience. It's like I have to let go. If my body is not ovulating, then what I think, it's like a cognitive dissonance. Like, then whatever I think is the right amount of exercise and the right amount of food is not accurate. Like it's actually
Mhm.
me that's wrong, not my body. My body's trying to
Yes.
tell me we need more. We need more food. We need more rest. We need something different than what you think we need. And wherever I got the standard of like, this is what I need, um, it's just not true. The body will tell
Hmm.
you when you have eaten the right amount and when you have exercised the right amount because you will be ovulating. And that's really
Yes.
important for your overall health.
Yes. So important. So
So
important.
don't compare to other people, right? Don't like it's not
No
like it's
comparison.
not strict numbers. Like there's I mean the formula kind of comes about as you like let go and just start leaning into like, okay, I'm just going to keep going until my body responds and says that this is
Yeah.
enough, right? And
Yeah.
I think this
And
is where you and women in your line of work, it's so helpful because the 15-minute appointment with our medical professional doesn't really lend itself to the psychological aspect of most women who
yes.
encounter HA. So maybe we can spend a minute now talking about that. So we know physiologically, HA is the hypothalamus is not pumping to the pituitary gland, and therefore hormones are not communicating to the ovaries, and so you're not ovulating. So standard medical treatment is let's get you ovulating and they'll give you drugs to help you ovulate.
Yep.
Depending on how far along you are in your HA diagnosis or journey, correct me if I'm wrong, Cynthia, those drugs might not even work. Like they might not be
Yep.
strong enough because
Hmm.
you could be so undernourished. And so your body is such in a state of stress, no matter how many rounds of letrozole and Clomid you do, or even Menopur, the body still
Hmm.
might not be responding because it's been
Yeah.
such a period of time in such a high stress state.
Yep.
That's
And I
true,
would
right?
say even, yeah, even IVF, Amy. Like,
Right.
so
Right.
many women are like, you know what? I'm gonna skip this stuff that I have to do, like, because it's hard to change your lifestyle. I'm just gonna do IVF. Like, fertility drugs are not like a guarantee you're gonna have a baby.
I think it's also important to say that, when we think about those different, I don't know, I guess it's important to, be educated. And we've talked about different assistive reproductive technologies on this podcast many times to say that, we also have to think of like they call it like the underlying mechanism of action, or like, how does this method, quote unquote, supposedly help you get pregnant? And I think especially in the case of women with HA, again, there was nothing actually anatomically wrong. Your
Yeah.
ovaries have eggs, your uterus can support a baby. It's just that your hypothalamus is not talking to your pituitary gland. Like if we just get that turned on, then your body will ovulate and you can actually get pregnant. We don't need to spend 12,000 plus dollars on a round of IVF when your body can do this. It's
Yeah.
not that we're dealing with a different, there's many reproductive diseases and disorders out there, and we've talked about them before and we've had people on to talk about them. HA is somewhat unique in that it is very reversible and it's
Yes.
very simple. It's not, there's no anatomic structure with the reproductive system that's off with HA. It's just this communication pathway that we have to restore.
Yes.
So the psychological aspect again. So we're talking with our medical professional. We get this diagnosis, and maybe they do say, like how you experienced, Cynthia, in your journey of like, okay, rest, eat a little
Hmm.
bit more, and let's still also do this drug to help you. Well, oftentimes, right, women with HA come to this experience kind of set in a pattern of like eating a certain way, moving a certain
Hmm.
way. And this impacts our brain and how we perceive our body and how much we should be moving and all of those kind of different things, how much we should be eating, letting go of the control of all of those things can be scary. So how do you and women who work and women who do what you do, how do you kind of come alongside the patient to address that aspect of HA that can't be addressed with a medical, medication, like some type of a drug?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, every woman is completely unique with her relation with body and exercise, but for over the years, including myself, like we are focused on upholding a certain image. And that image is sometimes who we think we are. And exercise is a part of stress relief and eating healthy. That's for somewhere along the line, we learned that this is what we need to do. We need to eat this much amount or whatever. And even as a dietitian, Amy, like I learned in college, we're pretty much a calculation. Like our bodies are a calculation, and it's not true. It is not
Mm,
true.
mm,
So it's like I learned all this and I had to unlearn it. And I'm like, but I learned it in college. Like it must be
mm,
true.
mm,
But
mm,
no, because I was following a certain type of calorie level, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not losing weight, so I must be eating enough. But at the same time, I
mm,
didn't have a period. And
mm,
anyway,
mm,
so, I like to first address the behavioral aspects of all this. Like when you say you're regularly exercising, are you taking any rest days? Like,
mm,
and I mean a rest day, like not like an active rest day where you're still running 3 miles, because that was me. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not CrossFitting today, but I will go run 3 miles. So that's a rest day because I'm not going as hard. So guilt if exercise isn't done. There
mm,
should be no guilt attached to that. And if
mm,
someone told me that, I'd be like, huh? Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'd be like, what? What do you mean? Of course I need to exercise every day.
mm,
But why?
mm,
Especially if your period's missing and you know it's not the best thing for your body. So, guilt if exercise isn't done. And think of it this way, you're gonna have a baby one day. You want to be up all night with a baby and then be like, I have to exercise and then have that guilt all day while taking care of a newborn? Like,
mm,
anyways, there's so many different scenarios.
mm,
Choosing exercise over most things in life. So these are things, I guess, in my perfect world that I would hope whoever was the first point of contact of HA would be asking these questions. Like, are you doing these things? So another thing is exercise. It only counts if it's intense. Like,
mm,
why can't it be a gentle yoga? Why doesn't that count?
mm,
And why are we counting in the
mm,
first place?
mhm. Right,
And so, like I said too, I don't want this to be totally focused on exercise, but a lot of time, or some of the times, women aren't exercising much at all. So
right.
the healthy eating, like, let's talk about what is healthy eating. If you're not ovulating, if you don't have a period. So, are you limiting calories? Are you limiting portions? Are you counting macros? Are you putting things into MyFitnessPal? Are you only eating at certain times of the day where it's like, okay, well, lunchtime is at 1. I can't eat any earlier than that because that's the time I have to eat.
Mm,
So it's rigid rules
mm,
around this stuff. It's basing meals on past meals or future meals. So for example, I had a bagel sandwich for breakfast. Well, I can't have a sandwich for lunch too. Like that's too many carbs. Just
mm,
thinking of that. And I just want to say, like, if you're trying to get your period back, having a bagel sandwich in the morning and also having a sandwich at lunch is going to be beneficial for your
mm,
recovery.
mm,
So, and are you a person that's avoiding situations or social situations because of you're having to work out in the morning, or like you can't be around that type of food because you don't want to eat it, it's unhealthy?
mm,
So those are just some of the like the behavioral aspects of this. And unfortunately, for HA is just so like not known in the first place. And for us to ever expect our doctors are going to even just simply say like, well, how are you eating?
mm,
How are
mhm,
you exercising?
mhm,
And to those out there that they are asking those questions, it's great. But then the bigger
mhm,
question comes like when my doctor told me like, oh, Cynthia, you have to eat more and rest
mhm,
more. I'd be like, huh? How?
mhm,
Like how do I even do that?
mhm,
And so
mhm.
now it becomes a matter of, okay, I know this is something I need to change, but how? How do I
Right.
change it?
Well, and that's where working with like a registered dietitian like yourself who specializes in this specific field in this area can be really helpful because while you work with mindset, you also do kind of work with the numbers sometimes, right? And you help women like, okay, here's kind of what we need to be eating on a regular basis. And here's how we structure meals. And at the same time, here's kind of how we can work through the mental load of like, we're not going to be able to work out every day and we need to like slow down a little bit. So you really offer, I think, kind of that balance after we get like that great medical diagnosis from the doctor and we say, okay, I want to achieve a pregnancy and I believe my body can do this because if you have HA, your body can do this.
Yes.
Then let's work on getting your body to do this so you can experience that freedom and all of the physiological gifts of ovulation. It's so good for your
Yes.
brain and your bones and your mood and just everything. We just
And
want
your
those,
heart,
all
your
of it. We want
libido, like
all of it.
connection
Yeah.
with your partner more,
Right. We
and
want, yes.
all of that, and then
Yeah.
some. And I just want to say, Amy, traditionally, I don't even know if I could use that word here because HA hasn't like been known for so long, but I think it gets a little bit of a bad rap of like, oh, I just need to eat all the food and I just need to be a couch potato.
Right.
And I suppose that can work, like eat more and rest more. But my approach, Amy, because I don't want women to become more stressed. Like this is
Right.
already stressful enough, thinking they can't conceive, have a missing period, not ovulating. And now this whole HA thing is asking them to change their lifestyle. And
Right.
so that's stressful enough. And for me to come in and be like, yeah, just like be a couch potato and eat, like you're going to go crazy. And
Right.
so I like to say creating a balanced approach of having some structure because we do need some structure because we don't want to go to one, end of the spectrum and then to the other end of the spectrum and to become like unhealthy in a different way,
Right.
right? So it's finding
Right.
that balance of getting the proper amounts of carbs, fats, protein, not eating fast food every day, but if you want
Right.
fast food once in a while, yeah, freaking have it,
Right. Right.
and also the exercise. Like most of the women I work with, if I tell them they can't exercise anymore, they'd be like, all right, I'll see you in the loony bin.
Right.
Like
Right.
I can't. That's part of what I do, who I am. So
Right.
it's about finding that balance with the frequency, the duration, and intensity. And what the beautiful thing about period recovery before you become a mom, and you can still do it even if you're a mom or you want to have more kids, that you get to create this balance with food, with exercise, so that when you have these beautiful little babies, that you can enjoy them and you can be present for them and you can sleep in if the baby was up all night and the baby decides to sleep now past 10 o'clock, and you can do that too and be okay with it. And
Mm-hmm.
you can eat cake at your son's first birthday party without feeling guilty about it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can give this beautiful relationship to your future kids so they don't have to struggle like you did.
Right,
So
absolutely. Yeah. And let's spend a second since we were talking a little bit more about nutrition there at the end. It just made me think of PCOS as a diagnosis because often a treatment for PCOS, kind of like a lifestyle treatment, can be
mhm.
altering your diet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But if you actually have HA, the altercation of the diet to correct the PCOS, it can actually worsen the HA. So let's
Yep.
chat about that. Why is it now? This is interesting, Cynthia. I did want to bring this up. So we had an expert in the field of PCOS on, and I asked her about the diagnosis, a misdiagnosis of PCOS for HA. And now this woman specializes in fertility awareness. Like she's a medical
Mhm.
professional that's very much root cause oriented. When I asked her that question, Cynthia, it was really funny. Her response was like, what idiot doctor would miss PCOS and HA? Like she
Yeah.
was kind of like, she didn't say it like that. And that's
Yeah.
very strong language. Forgive me. I don't
Yeah.
mean to be that. But the facial
But she was
expression she
dumbfounded.
had,
Yeah.
she was just like, well, no, they're very different. Like, how could you diagnose one for the other? But that being said, I never got the diagnosis of PCOS. I just got the diagnosis
Yeah.
of HA. But I hear from many women that they will get a diagnosis of PCOS during their kind of HA figuring out fertility journey. And since you had that experience and this is your field that
Mhm.
you work in, what is it about it that you think causes that mixed diagnosis? Is it just the lack of a period? And so doctors just say, well, you don't have a period. You probably, they just throw PCS out, like kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping it sticks. Like
Yeah.
they'll just throw it out there. Or what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are that these women, including myself, I was one of them, get an ultrasound. They get the ultrasound, and then automatically, as soon as they see all these little follicles, they're like, cis, PCOS, bam, done. And she doesn't have a period. So the Rotterdam criteria, which I believe is 2 out of the 3. So you have polycystic ovaries, a regular absent period, and androgen levels, like high androgen levels, and other like hirsutism and so forth. So, well, no period, polycystic ovaries, bam, PCOS. And what I don't know if doctors don't know, like that these follicles or these cysts are actually follicles. And with HA, because your body isn't producing the proper hormones to grow these follicles, they just hang out in the ovaries. And so that's my guess on it, because
Makes
when
so
I
much
ask,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, and these poor women are like, well, then they find out about HA, that maybe they find my page. They're like, well, I don't know. My doctor's saying PCOS, but then like I fit all the criteria of HA, and like I don't know. I don't know what to do. And everyone's gonna be ready in their own time. But I gently say, like, if your doctor is diagnosing you just by ultrasound, no. And then also with PCOS, you're still having some cycling going on. You might still
Mm,
have some cervical mucus. With HA, I mean, really nothing. Until
right.
you start to recover, you might start to see bits and pieces of CM. But also, let's just say there's very rare cases of having both HA and PCOS.
Mm.
So let's just say I have both. You have to treat the HA first.
Oh,
You have to.
interesting. Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
it's it's you have HA because of lack of under eating, or
Mm.
undernourishment and
Mm-hmm.
overexercising, or combo of. So
Mm.
then
Mm.
also I like to say my approach, I've had maybe one out of hundreds that had both. And my approach with eating with period recovery is very balanced with proper carbs, fats, and proteins. So even if you did have PCOS, which is very rare to have both, that you're going to get these balanced blood sugar controlled meals and snacks, so that you're not like sending PCOS into overdrive as
Right.
well. So,
Right.
and I don't do that just because the thought of PCOS, but I think that's just balanced nutrition for everybody, having proper carbs, fats, and proteins, even if you don't have any period problems. But
Right.
yeah, so that's my take on it. Like, they're being diagnosed by the ultrasound. And then they're like, "Oh, well, then you have lean PCOS." Now, is that a thing? Yeah, it could be a thing. But if
Mm-hmm.
you haven't
Mm-hmm.
had a period for years,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Right. Right. Right.
absolutely
Right.
not.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, kind of forgot about that as one of the diagnostic criteria, or one of the ways that doctors use to diagnose is through ultrasound.
mhm.
And you're right. If you see a woman with HA, her ovary is going to look like it has a lot of follicles in there
Yeah,
because it's not ovulating. So, okay, that would make a
yeah,
lot of sense. Okay.
yeah,
Um, but then it can delay then, seeking out treatment, like
yeah. Or drive you
corrective,
deeper into HA, like it did
right?
for
Or
me. I'm
drive,
like, oh my gosh,
right?
PCOS. Like, I have to, make sure my diet is carb controlled, and I have to exercise because I'm gonna
Right.
get X, Y, and Z.
Eat
Low
low
carb.
carb, right? That's
Yeah, yeah.
often, yeah. Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, and then that can just derail kind of looking for help, or it can be, and this is not to throw medical professionals under the bus. This is just the reality of our system and the way it's set.
Yes.
When we have short appointments, also, I'm kind of like, I'm also responding to my customer's desire, right? So my patient comes in, wants to, let's say in this situation, wants to get pregnant, right? And then I see, okay, well, they're not ovulating. So let's give you drugs to get you to ovulate. Like oftentimes it's not like a deep-seated evil intention from the medical professional to say, well, I'm not going to even look at the root cause. I'm just going to kind of do this to get you to what you want. It's more like, well, I could offer you these other solutions, but I'm sure you experience this in your line of work, Cynthia, of like, how willing is this patient to do those things? Like, are you at the point where you want to be making those lifestyle changes and you want to be doing those things, or no, you really just want to give the drugs a try and you don't think that the life, you'll do marginal things that the lifestyle ends, but really I'd like to try the drugs because it'd be really nice if I could just take this pill and ovulate, but I don't have to make too many changes. Right? Like that's kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
secret hope of women with HA is like, well, if I
Yeah.
could just like not do too much and still get what I want, that would be ideal, which I think most people would think in a lot of realms of life.
Yeah. I want to have my cake and eat it too, and I want it to be
Exactly.
easy. I
Right.
want it to be
Right.
easy.
Right.
But guess what? You can do hard things. And, you
Mm,
know, your body, your health. Like the reason why most women get into exercising and eating a certain way is because they want to be healthy,
Right.
right? But is it truly health, or is it you just want to kind of mold how you look,
Right.
to this perfect image that you have envisioned? I'm not sure. That was
Mhm.
me.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, I just want to be healthy. But I'm like, oh yeah, but I also
Mm.
want a six pack,
Right.
So, and if someone told me like, yeah, Cynthia, you could take a magic pill and like make this be easy,
Mm.
yeah, I'd probably
Mhm.
go for it.
Mm.
But at the same time, you have to think about how do you want to live your life? How do you
Right.
want your kids to see you live your life?
Right.
And, is life is more than about what you look like, which sounds so, cliche of me because if someone said that 15 years ago, I'd be like, well, you have to look a certain way. Like, it's just the way it is.
Mhm.
But, that magic pill, like nothing, I like to say nothing in life is easy that's really worth it.
Right.
So,
And it really does address, unlike the pill solution, getting to the root cause, it can address all the psychological aspects of this condition
yeah.
that are often missed.
Yeah, and get you pregnant and improve your heart health. Like lack of
Right.
estrogen, they're doing a lot more studies now on heart health with HA. And like heart disease is the leading cause of death in America for women.
Right.
So, and not only heart disease, bone health. Like if you're an
Right.
athletic woman, do you want to be like not working out when you're 40?
Right. Right. Yep.
Because you have all these stress fractures.
Right.
So there's
Right.
also there's the medical piece, but then there's the psychological piece of, I was able to just recently take a trip to Greece, and Amy, I don't have to worry about what I'm putting in my mouth. I just eat
Mm.
and I move on and I
Mm.
enjoy the beautiful scenery.
Mm.
And that didn't come easy. It had to
Mm.
come with me addressing face on, like, why do you feel this way about
Mm.
food? Why do you feel this way about your body? Like
Mm.
what is it tied to your worth about your
Mm.
identity of how people see you or how people
Mm.
won't see you if you
Right.
gain 5 pounds?
Right.
So and that's just saying it in a nutshell, but you get to experience life more deeply when you don't have this layer of like how much should I eat, when am I eating, how much am I like when am I going to exercise, how much should I get enough steps in and stuff like that. And the thing is that's really hard is that it's normalized. So your friends are doing it, your parents are probably doing it, your sister, whoever is doing it. So it's like, isn't this normal? And
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's not normal, but it's common.
Right.
And we live in a very diet culture, whatever you want to call it, world. And it makes it hard to do the healthiest things for our body. And just to also side note that some women, you might say like, oh gosh, I remember Amy when I was trying to get pregnant. I'm like, why does she get to exercise? And she's smaller than me and she's this and that. And it's like, okay, give yourself that moment to be frustrated as all hell, but also come back to like, this is your body. That's
Mm-hmm.
her body. You guys
Mm-hmm.
are two different human beings with a million different genetic makeups. Even if you had a
Mm-hmm.
sister, like you
Right.
guys have two different bodies. So give yourself the frustration of that, but also in any hardship, I believe there's always gifts waiting on the other side, but you kind of got to get through that hard, messy part first.
Mm-hmm.
But there's many gifts that lie on the other side, and I truly would not be the mom I am today because if the goal here is pregnancy, you're going to become a mom one day.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be the mom that I am today without experiencing having to change my lifestyle and go through these uncomfortable feelings in my body in order to be my healthiest self mentally and physically for myself and my kids.
Right. Absolutely. And let's just we have to wrap up here. I don't want to monopolize all of your time, but I just want to take a few minutes before we do that to just talk a little bit about, which we've already alluded to, the importance of ovulation for health. And this is maybe me in my fantasy world, is
Mm-hmm.
that girls and women will achieve ovulatory cycles and maintain ovulatory cycles for the whole of their life because they understand that ovulation is important for health. And achieving a pregnancy is the result of having a healthy ovulatory cycle and having intercourse. That just happens. Okay. That's a great thing. But aside from ever having a child, ovulating regularly during the course of your whole reproductive life will set you up for healthy postmenopausal years because your body has had years and years of good hormones circulating through your body. So, for the moms that are listening with daughters, don't like become obsessed now with how much are they eating and how much are they exercising and what's going on, and don't breathe down their throat. But I think it is good for all women, right, to be aware of a condition like this, coupled with the importance
Yes.
of ovulation, so that way when we're talking and interacting with our young girls, nieces, granddaughters, daughters, cousins, whoever, we can be encouraging healthy lifestyles, to your point, not overemphasizing what our body looks like, but how our body functions. Is our body
Mm.
functioning well? Are we can our body move well? And are we ovulating? Emily and I talk about that all the time, that ovulation is a sign of health. And if we're not ovulating, then we're not healthy. Even if we're eating clean, exercising, doing all the healthy
Yeah.
things, but your body's not ovulating, you're not really that healthy because your body's not functioning
Yeah.
as it should.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess anything that, it's always hard, right? That the hindsight, thinking of younger people, oftentimes we don't get to this conversation. I don't know if you've experienced this in your work too, but you probably don't work with many 16-year-olds who aren't getting their period. It's usually like the 20 something, 30 something
Yeah.
woman who's
Not
been like, I want
many,
to
a
get pregnant.
handful of teens here and there, but
That's
yeah.
great. That's so great. And that's always like, yay, we're getting to you young, right? Like,
Yes.
let's get that. So that's the ideal, is that we're not waiting until the point of trying to get pregnant to establish healthy
Yes.
ovulation. So I just wanted
Yes.
to put that out there to see if there's anything you wanted to say about that.
So what I'd like to say is like think of your period slash ovulation as a vital sign,
Hmm.
just like your blood pressure, just like your heart rate. Like if you go to the doctors and they're like, oh, your blood pressure is high or it's low or whatever, like they're saying something.
Right.
But you go to the doctors and you're like, oh, when was my last period? Like not even ovulation, it's period. And they still
Mhm.
pregnancy, like when they calculate pregnancy, it's like, oh, when was your last period? No, like when was when did you
When did
ovulate?
it actually
But
ovulate?
anyway,
Right.
so they ask about it. Oh, it's been 2 months. Oh, okay. For the most part. So it is your vital sign. And it's one of the most amazing things about being a woman is that we can tell if there's something off with our body by our periods slash ovulation.
Right.
Right. So, a couple of things to look out for. Like, okay, ovulation could be harder to like kind of see than an actual period because period's like more tangible. But if you are, getting way long cycles, if you're getting super short cycles, if you are getting super light cycles, or if you're getting super heavy cycles, I'm just talking about menstrual cycle in general. If you don't have, a regular cycle with a nice flow, and I'm sure you have gone over this in other podcasts, like something's off. Something's off. And I can tell you because I'm so connected to my body now, Amy, I had a period where I was like, huh, came a couple days early. I'm like, okay, okay. And then I had a bits of spotting in my follicular phase. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a month. Usually I say like get out of jail free card 1 month. If it happens again the next month, then something's up. So I actually have a polyp in my uterus.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, I would have never
That's
known
amazing,
that,
Cynthia. Yeah.
So I gave it a
Hmm.
month. I'm like, okay. And, I was like, okay, something's up. Something is up. And so I told the doctor exactly. I said, I need an ultrasound. I need lab work.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
you better listen to me.
Right.
So yeah, and they went in and they're like, oh, we see this little polyp. And I'm kind of still exploring the behinds of that because they're like, oh, they just happen. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no, nothing just happens. You're
You said
talking to
that
the
to the
wrong
wrong
patient.
patient here, person.
Yes. So I'm kind of still exploring that myself to see like, okay, why do polyps occur? And then I got
Hmm.
to know, oh, it's genetic. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, maybe it is. There's a genetic component, but like, no, they don't just happen. So, but yeah, so I'm going to get that removed and
Mm.
biopsied. And there is a very, like they said, 99.9% chance, like there's no, cancer risk, and that kind of increases after menopausal age. But because
Right.
I am so connected and looking at my body as a vital sign right away, I
You
knew
knew it.
something was off.
That's amazing.
So,
That's so great, Cynthia. Yeah. And that's a testament to why reading that monthly report card, and knowing what our normal healthy cycle looks like, when things pop up that are not normal, we can address them. So yeah, that's phenomenal. All right. So we have to wrap up. Where can people find you, to follow you? She's a fun follow. Definitely follow Cynthia on Instagram, and get help. What do you offer to women out there who have HA and are looking to achieve a pregnancy or just try to ovulate?
Yeah. So you guys can primarily find me on Instagram, period.nutritionist. And I also have a podcast called the Period Recovery Podcast, which is one of my favorite things to do. And then what I do offer women is so much free content from my podcast and my Instagram. But if you're looking for that, individualized, like, help me know what I need to eat and how much I need to rest, I offer a very individualized / community setting where I work with women uh, through a 12-week group coaching program where we do some one-on-one work, but we also are in a community of other like-minded women that are struggling with the same thing. So it's very powerful to be able to be alongside of other women, because we face it, we live in a day that is doing that we need to do for HA, right? They're eating less and moving more, and we need to eat, I don't want to say more, but differently. And we have to exercise differently. So it's finding that balance. So we do that through 12 weeks. And I would say most women I work with, between 8 and 10 weeks, they get their periods back. I even have some women, they join the program and they get their period back. And it's almost like, I like to say, it's like finally, like, someone's gonna, support me through this and tell me what to do. And then, because the work isn't over after you get one period back, you got to get pregnant if that's your next goal, and or you got to get more periods and make sure you're ovulating. So we make sure that that's all happening. And yeah, so lots of amazing information inside that group. And yeah, I would say that would be the best way to work with me. And if you go to my Instagram page, you'll see a link right on the top of my bio to apply for coaching.
And you have, outside of Instagram, you do have a website, right, Cynthia?
Yes, I do.
What is your website?
Periodnutritionist.com. Yep.
Period Nutritionist. Okay. I'll link to all this stuff in the show notes for everybody who's interested. So you can go check it all out, pass it along to someone you think it might be helpful. Or if you're bring it to your medical professional so they can have it as a resource. Are you doing any work in that area, Cynthia, with any other RDs in this field to try to, evangelize to the medical community about, like, hey, we're this group of RDs over here and we can really help these women that are coming to you with these issues?
Yes. So I once tried to embark on this myself to, like, educate more doctors. And it was kind of like, I don't have time for you.
It's really hard,
So
right?
I kind of fell off. But I have another colleague who we were talking about creating a practitioner program to, you know,
Oh,
uh, educate other practitioners.
oh,
Because
nice.
right now, at the level of being at the doctors, I'm working with also one of the lead researchers in HA. Her name is Dr. Christiana Schufelt. I have a couple podcast episodes with her if you guys go to my podcast. But her kind of take on it is like, we need the research first. We need the research to
Mm,
get the doctors to listen. And then once we have the research, then, things will happen a lot more efficiently and effectively
mm,
than versus, like, let's, do this. But my colleague and I were like, well, we're not going to wait, 20 years for the research. So we were talking about, a practitioner program. But alongside of being a mom, she's also a mom, being business owners, it hasn't completely come to fruition yet, but it may
right,
in the
right.
future.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I was thinking, like, like a CME or something like that for like continuing medical education course, like just something like that for the medical professional. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Good for you guys. Yeah, I mean, I just know you're doing a lot of great work on the ground and um, always working from the, what is it called? Like the
Yeah.
grassroots. That's what I was trying to
Yes.
say. Like grassroots
Yes.
efforts of,
Yes.
like, just going straight
And
to the women.
yes, and I love that's my area of love, is being able to make an impact on somebody's life.
Right.
And, of course that can be done in all ways, but I love to work closely with women and make that
Right.
connection for them.
Fantastic. All right, guys. So go check out Cynthia. Again, all this will be linked in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise today, Cynthia. I really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Take care.
That wraps up another episode of the NFP Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found our discussion enlightening and empowering. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please connect with us by sending us an email with your questions and stories. to thenfpshow@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with more insights, tips, and heartfelt conversations about natural family planning. Until then, love responsibly.